A while ago, I saw a Fudge Muppet video discussing the various new genres that the Elder Scrolls franchise could be made into now that Microsoft is the parent company who owns the franchise. However, most of the genres they mentioned are, in my opinion, against the spirit of the Elder Scrolls games. That spirit being massive worlds, open exploration, and player freedom, not just in what your character does, but in how you build and evolve your character. As Will Loves Video Games once said in his Oblivion retrospective video, if you got rid of all the optional branching paths, you would ultimately lead to fewer glitches and a main conflict that actually feels threatening, but you wouldn't have an Elder Scrolls game. Today, to rectify Fudge Muppet's blasphemy, I would like to offer my own list of 3 new genres that I believe the Elder Scrolls would be a perfect fit for. These 3 genres can help build the massive lore and world building that made the Elder Scrolls games so incredible, while still staying true to the main 3 draws that I mentioned a moment ago: player freedom, massive worlds, and open-ended exploration. So, without any further ado, let's get underway. Number 3. A visual novel. Now, you might think that this genre is literally the opposite of the 3 main draws I just mentioned, and you would not be wrong for thinking that. That is, admittedly, the main reason why this is the first one on the list. However, I believe that, with enough care put into it, an Elder Scrolls visual novel can easily hit all 3 of those high points. First of all, rather than following the template set by the many free-to-play visual novels we can find on the Google App Store, Bethesda should instead follow the template set by one of the first visual novels to obtain mainstream success and popularity in North America: the Ace Attorney games. Many of us don't think of the Ace Attorney games as a visual novel series, mostly because it's too good to be one, but if you really stop to think about it, they kind of are. After all, they're basically just a bunch of still images that are shown in stop motion, and the only real choices you have are in branching dialogue with other characters. There are no quick-time events, no combat system, no driving minigame to get from point A to point B. Whenever you need to go somewhere, you just select a destination and boom, you're there. The Elder Scrolls games already have that feature as it is. It's called fast travel. Sure, there's a loading screen, but you absolutely can just select your destination and just move instantly to that destination, minus the time it takes to load, of course. So that part is already built in. As far as lore is concerned, forget it. Most of the game's really interesting lore comes from the in-game books anyways. So as visual novels are concerned, the potential for lore and world building is practically built right in. So how would the gameplay work? How would we facilitate the Elder Scrolls' trademark exploration and player freedom? Well, imagine if you were on a detective quest from the Emperor. Maybe the Emperor's son or someone the Emperor cares about was assassinated, and you're tasked with tracking down the bastard who killed him. You are authorized to go all across Tamriel in search of clues. This is how we would facilitate the open world exploration. You would only ever visit the cities, never the dungeons. We would only ever see still images of the roads we were on, with the option to enter various houses or go to other roads. We could go to the stables in order to travel between cities, but once inside the cities, we would have to return to the stables to go to another city. This would keep menu clutter to a minimum. As far as player choice is concerned, there would, of course, be many different ways we could search for clues. We could interrogate nearly any NPC in the game, and those NPCs could give us valid leads, or they could mislead us, either intentionally or in good faith. If an NPC gives us inaccurate information, it's up to the player to determine if the NPC just made a mistake or was intentionally leading us down the wrong path. If we decide the latter, we can bring that NPC in for more intense questioning. However, we also need to be careful about where we're kicking up dust, because if the killers find out that we're on the case, they may try to spring a trap for us. This is where the non-linearity and branching paths can be programmed in. It'll take effort, and this is certainly out of Bethesda's comfort zone. Then again, all the genres mentioned today will be out of Bethesda's comfort zone, so I say, give the visual novel a go. Number 2. A real-time or turn-based strategy. Now, many of you instantly see the potential for a strategy game set in the Elder Scrolls universe. The Skyrim Civil War honestly seemed like a big wasted opportunity, not just from a lore perspective, but from a gameplay perspective. You were only one soldier in the entire war, and while the Dragonborn could be said to single-handedly win the war for his army, you were still only playing the Civil War from the point of view of one ground-level soldier. Which city and fort to target was not your choice to make, nor was it your choice what strategy was used to capture the fort or city. Whether it be rescuing POWs, blackmailing the local steward, or delivering fake documents to the enemy, you never got to choose what you did right before the battle. Well, what if we had a midquel game set during the Great War? The only thing we know about the Great War canonically is that the final battle in that war was the Battle of Red Ring, and that the Empire is technically considered the winner of that battle. Other than that, it's all a blank slate. So this would enable you, playing as General Tullius, to decide which cities to target, which cities to defend, what iron or ebony mines are worth keeping, etc., etc. The battle for Red Ring will, of course, be the final battle in the campaign. This would allow for player freedom and non-linearity in how you fight the war. From a gameplay point of view, the simplest types of units you could train would be the warrior, the mage, and the rogue. Warriors defeat rogues, rogues defeat mages, and mages defeat warriors. As you upgrade your units and get more resources, you can start to train non-combative people, such as diplomats, allowing you to win over cities or other strategic locations by persuading the local head of state to your side, rather than conquering and exiling them. Merchants, who would add a multiplier to the income that cities and gold and silver mines bring in, or blacksmiths, which can give your warriors and rogues a huge buff to their combat skills because of all the weapons and armor being made for them. As your stealth skills improve, you can start to train spies. These spies can enter enemy territory and are invisible to the enemy unless an RNG dictates that they get caught. Just like in the Sid Meier's Civilization games, these spies can fuck your enemy's shit up in more ways than just killing enemy soldiers. You can also even train assassins, who are the only ones capable of killing captains. Captains are halfway between regular soldiers and the general, who is the player character. Without the captain, all the soldiers he's supposed to be commanding will become far less organized, and are much more likely to simply surrender rather than force you to fight. But of course, you shouldn't put all your points into stealth, because remember, warriors have a huge advantage over stealthy characters. Meanwhile, enemy mages can learn the Life Detect spell, which greatly increases the RNG-based likelihood that your spies will be detected by the enemy and therefore killed. So you definitely don't want to shirk the combat and magic specialists. And let's also not forget the potential for sequels. There are so many historical wars within Elder Scrolls lore that it's honestly hard to keep track of them all. Each one of them has the potential to be either a prequel or a midquel in the form of a turn-based or real-time strategy. You can make an entire sub-series out of these games. And the number one new genre for the Elder Scrolls games is a platformer. In Oblivion, getting up to 100 acrobatics and then leaping from rooftop to rooftop was way more fun than it had any right to be. Well, imagine how much fun it will be when the jumping mechanics are fine-tuned and are the focus of the game. As far as open world exploration is concerned, this is an absolute perfect fit. All we have to do is make sure that it's the Elder Scrolls equivalent of Super Mario Odyssey, rather than the Elder Scrolls equivalent of Super Mario 3D World, and we've got the open world exploration aspect in the bag. When it comes to player freedom, that might be a bit more challenging. Super Mario Odyssey is all about exploration, but there's usually only one way to get each moon. Whatever the main collectible is for the Elder Scrolls platformer, we'll need to make sure that there are at least 2 ways to get each one. However, there should be at least a half a dozen ways to get collectibles overall. Examples of ways to get collectibles can include head-to-head combat, magic, stealth, diplomacy, or simply buying them with your septums, which would be this game's equivalent to coins. There should be enough main collectibles in the game that you could unlock the game's ending just on 1 or 2 collection methods, so those who prefer a specific method can simply use that method to complete the game any percent. The only real problem I can think of with this genre is how we would approach the story. Platformers are perhaps the most story-light genre of all, with the obvious exception of genres that typically have no story whatsoever, such as puzzle games. The Elder Scrolls games, however, are famous, not just for their in-depth stories, but how many stories they pack into each game. There's the main quest, obviously, but every major faction also has its own quest line with their own stories. Then, the side quests are standalone short stories in their own right. We definitely want to make this game feel like an Elder Scrolls game, and we need to make sure that feel extends to more than just the graphics. We don't want it to feel like it could be just about any other collectathon platformer, but with an Elder Scrolls palette swap. Just like when Mario, historically a platformer franchise, made its first foray into the RPG genre, creating one of the greatest games of all time, the developers knew that it had to still feel like a Mario game, not just a Final Fantasy game with a Mario palette swap. If the Elder Scrolls, historically an RPG series, were to transition to the platformer genre, an equal amount of care would have to be taken to ensure that it feels like an Elder Scrolls game first and a platformer second. So there you have it. 3 new genres that the Elder Scrolls can enter that I think would be a perfect fit for the Elder Scrolls legacy, provided enough care is taken to preserve the spirit of the Elder Scrolls. So what do you guys think? Do you have any other genres you think would lend themselves nicely to the Elder Scrolls formula of player freedom, open world exploration, and extensive lore? If so, let me know down in the comments. In the meantime, however, I am Acer Thorn, and I will see you guys later.